Some truths stay buried for years. Then one small moment pulls everything open. A letter with my name on it. Words I was never meant to read. And from that moment on, nothing about my childhood felt the same. The envelope fell out of the drawer like it had been waiting for me. Not dramatic, not staged, just sudden. It hit the floor at my feet while I searched for spare batteries in my mother's room. My name stared back at me in neat ink. Arden Hale. Not too Arden, not for Arden, just my full name. Cold, exact. My chest tightened before my mind caught up. I knew every piece of paper in that room, or so I thought. This one did not belong. The envelope felt old in my hand. The paper had softened with time. The seal was broken once, then closed again with dry glue. I stood there for a long moment, listening to the quiet of the house. My mother, Blythe, was in the kitchen downstairs. The radio played low. She hummed when she cooked. Always had. I should have called out to her. I should have asked. I did not. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened the envelope. The letter inside was folded twice. The handwriting was not my mother's. It belonged to a man I had not seen since I was 9. My father, Corin Hale. The first line punched the air from my lungs. Arden, I have waited years to find the courage to write this. My hands started to shake, not from fear, from the quiet violence of recognition. He was alive when this was written. Alive. Thinking of me, trying to reach me. I read faster. He wrote about mistakes, distance, regret. He wrote that he had tried to call, tried to send gifts, tried to pass messages through relatives who never replied. He wrote that he would wait for me at Lake Vere on the first Sunday of every month. I will sit on the far bench by the water. If you ever want to see me, I will be there. The date at the bottom of the page made my vision blur. 10 years ago. 10 years. My father had not vanished without a word. He had been writing, waiting, and someone had stopped that truth from reaching me. I heard the sound of a pan shifting downstairs, oil cracking, my mother still humming. My legs felt weak as I stood. Every memory I had of my father suddenly felt wrong. The quiet disappearances, the returned gifts I never knew existed, the story that he had chosen not to look back. It bent under the weight of that single piece of paper. The stairs felt longer on the way down. My mother stood at the stove, her back to me. You find your batteries? She asked casually. I placed the letter on the counter between us. Who hid this? I asked. She looked down at the paper. Her face changed, not into shock, not into confusion, into recognition, the kind that lasts a second too long. Her mouth opened, closed. Where did you find that? She asked. In your drawer, I said. Why is it there? She wiped her hands slowly on a towel. That does not matter, she said. It matters to me, I replied. Why did my father write to me? He caused enough damage, she said. That letter does not change that. It changes everything, I said. He tried to see me. She turned away. You were a child, she said. You do not understand what he put me through. You never let me choose, I said. You chose for me. Her shoulders tensed. He was unreliable, she said. He disappeared once. He would have done it again. You do not know that, I said. You never gave him the chance. Silence stretched between us. Then she said the sentence that split my chest open. I was trying to protect you. Protect. That word felt like a blade wrapped in cloth. From what? I asked. From knowing my own father wanted me. Her breath hitched. You were finally stable, she said. You were healing. I could not let him pull you backward. Backward? The house suddenly felt too small. Every unopened box of my past stacked inside those walls. You returned his letters, I said. Did you not? She did not answer. You returned them, I repeated. Tears slid down her face. Yes, she whispered. The truth hit me in waves. Not all at once. Every birthday without him. Every question left unanswered. Every lie I told myself to survive. All curated. All managed. By the woman who raised me. I folded the letter slowly and slid it back into the envelope. My voice felt hollow when I spoke. When else did he write? I asked. She shook her head. That was the only one. I watched her closely now. Her eyes dropped. It was not the only one. It was just the only one that survived. I picked up my jacket from the chair. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To Lake Vire," I said. "To the bench." "Arden," she said sharply. 10 years is a long time." "I know," I said. "That is why I am going." She reached for my arm. I stepped back. "I am not a child anymore," I said, "and this story does not belong to you alone." I walked out before she could answer. The sky outside felt wider than it ever had. The road to the lake stretched ahead of me, and for the first time in 10 years, I was not walking toward a future. I was walking toward a past that had waited. As I drove, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "He came every month, even when you did not." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Someone else had known, had. For most of my childhood, my father existed as a warning, not a memory, not a story, a caution. Maeve never said his name with ease. When she did say it, the word came out sharp, like it had teeth. "Ronan made his choice," she would say. That sentence shaped my childhood. If I asked where he went, she said, "He left." If I asked why, she said, "Some people only love themselves." If I asked if he ever asked about me, she said, "No." That answer was always final. I grew up learning how to swallow questions. At school events, when other children waited in doorways for fathers who arrived late with crooked smiles and rushed apologies, I learned where to look instead. At the floor, at my shoes, at the wall clock. When teachers asked about my father, Maeve answered before I could. "He is not in the picture," she would say. The word picture felt intentional, as if he had been cut out. I told myself I did not care. That lie lasted until I was old enough to understand absence. In my teens, the anger arrived. Not loud anger, quiet anger. The kind that sits behind your ribs and questions your worth in a calm voice. If he left, it meant I had not been enough to make him stay. That was the logic my heart followed, even when my head fought it. Maeve saw that shift in me. She did not soften. She tightened. "He did not deserve you," she said one night when she found me staring at an empty space in a family photo album. "This is why I protected you from him." Protected. That word became her shield. When I asked to know what he looked like, she said, "You look like me. That is enough." When I asked what he did for a living, she said, "He chased dreams and left debts behind." When I asked if he was alive, she said, "Alive enough to stay away." I learned to stop asking, but I did not stop wondering. In university, when friends spoke about strained relationships with their fathers, I stayed silent. It felt wrong to complain about someone I had never been allowed to miss. When people joked about daddy issues, I laughed with them. It was easier than explaining the hollow part. Kieran once asked me, years later, why I flinched when men raised their voices, even in excitement. I told him it was nothing. It was not nothing. It was the shape of a man I had never met. When Maeve drank wine, her truth loosened, but never about him. One evening, after too many glasses, she said only this: "He would have ruined you." That was my inheritance, a verdict delivered without a trial. So when I opened the envelope in the drawer and saw his handwriting for the first time, my first emotion was not curiosity. It was betrayal. Not from him, from everything I had been taught. The letter did not open with apology. It opened with restraint. "My child, I do not know what version of me you were raised to hate." That line broke something in me, because it meant he knew. The next lines broke more. "I tried to reach you every year." I read that sentence 3 times, then again, then once more. The letter spoke of birthdays, of sending cards, of packages returned without explanation. It spoke of standing across the street from my school once, watching students pour out like noise and color, trying to spot me by guessing which one might carry his eyes. My hands started to shake. None of that matched the man Maeve had drawn for me. This man did not sound absent. He sounded restrained. "This is not a rescue," the letter continued. "I am not asking you to forgive me for leaving. I am asking you to know that I never stopped trying to come back." That sentence landed heavier than any shout. My entire childhood reframed itself in one breath. The empty chair at school events, the unopened mail that never arrived, the silence that had always felt deliberate. It had not been his choice alone. It had been curated. I lowered the pages and stared at the wall. Maeve had not just told me he left, she had made sure I never heard him knock. My eyes fell to the final paragraph on the page. I will send a second letter after this, and pray that if you don't see this one, you see that one. My chest tightened, and I realized the story I knew had never been the full one. I sat on the edge of my childhood bed while the letter trembled in my hands. The next paragraph began with a sentence that made my breath stall. You were 6 when I sent the red sweater. I never heard back. It returned to me untouched. Untouched. My chest tightened, because I remembered a red sweater, but the one I wore at 6 came from a bargain bin at a department store. Maeve told me it was a lucky clearance find. She even joked that it was too bright but too cheap to leave behind. I had never questioned the story. Now I realize I had never questioned the storyteller. I kept reading. At 7, I sent a small plush whale. I found it in a gift shop near the harbor, and you used to love whales. It came back with a postal label marked recipient unknown. A plush whale. Another memory surfaced. A classmate once brought a blue stuffed whale for show and tell. I had stared at it the entire time, wishing I had something like it. I told Maeve I liked it, and she said soft toys collected dust and sickness. She had always been quick with reasons. The letter continued. At 9, I mailed you a wooden music box carved with a bird. Your mother returned it unopened. I kept it. It plays a lullaby you used to hum. My throat tightened. I had seen a music box like that before. Not in my hands. In a store window downtown. I remembered tugging at Maeve's sleeve, asking if I could have it. She had tightened her grip and said it was fragile and overpriced, and not meant for children who lost things easily. And I had believed her. Because belief was survival. Because children accept the world as it is explained to them. The next lines felt heavier. I tried visiting twice. Once at your school recital. Once at your 9th birthday party. Your mother told me both times that you were better off without confusion. I stayed across the street. I watched you come out holding balloons you never knew I sent. My breath caught. A strange memory flickered. The day of my 9th birthday party, I had seen a man standing by a parked car across the road. I noticed him because he held a red balloon while the others we had were blue and white. I remembered asking Maeve why that man was staring at our house. She said he was a stranger waiting for someone else. I had accepted that answer too. Now the image twisted into something else. Something that explained the uneasy feeling I had that day. The sense that someone familiar was close, even though I could not place the face. The letter continued gently. I never wanted to frighten you. I stayed far enough so you felt safe, but close enough so I could see you smile. I told myself that one day you would know the truth and we would try again. My hands shook. A warmth bloomed in my chest, mixed with grief sharp enough to sting. All these small moments, all these odd memories that never fit anywhere, finally began finding their places. The sweater, the whale, the music box, the man with the red balloon, pieces of a father I never got to claim, pieces of a truth buried in excuses. The next paragraph made my eyes burn. I know it must confuse you to read all this now, but I want you to understand something. I never left you. I never stopped trying. I was kept away. My vision blurred. Kept away. That was a different story than the one I grew up with. Maeve had always said he chose to leave, that he had walked out and never cared enough to return. She told it so often that the words settled inside me like fact. Now fact felt like smoke. The final lines of the letter landed with a weight that pressed against my ribs. I have been gathering the courage to come to your door. This year I made the decision. I will knock, Arden. I will knock, even if you do not open. I want us to begin again. I was planning to knock on the door this year. I finally had the courage. I stared at that sentence until it blurred. He was coming back, or he had meant to, and whatever stopped him was not in this letter, which meant it was waiting for me in the next one. I did not confront my mother the day I found the second set of truths in the letter. I needed time to breathe without shaking, time to decide if I wanted answers or if I only wanted pain dressed as truth. 2 days passed. Maeve moved through the house as she always did, quiet, measured, careful with her tone, careful with me. That carefulness made my chest hurt more than anger would have. On the third evening, I found her in the kitchen peeling apples into a bowl the way she always did. Thin strips, no waste. A habit built from years of restraint. I stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching her hands. "Maeve," I said. She did not turn. "Yes. I found something." Her knife paused mid-peel, just for a blink. "Something what?" she asked. "A letter." She turned to look at me then. Her face did not change, but her eyes did. "Where?" she asked. "In the back of the lower drawer," I said. "Behind the folded tablecloths you never use." Silence sat between us. "How long have you had it?" she asked. "3 days." She nodded once as if confirming a quiet fear. "You should not have read it," she said. That sentence landed wrong. "Why?" I asked. "Because it was a lie. Or because it was the truth." Her mouth thinned. "It was not meant for you," she said. "It had my name on it," I replied. She placed the knife down carefully and wiped her hands on a cloth. "That does not mean you were meant to see it." I stepped into the kitchen. "He wrote to me," I said. "He tried to reach me. For years." Her shoulders lifted once. "He knew where I lived," she said. "If he wanted you badly enough, he could have fought harder." My voice shook for the first time. "He fought. You blocked him." Her eyes flashed. "You do not know what you are talking about." "The letter tells me," I said. "He tried to visit. He sent things. They came back." She looked away. "I did what I had to," she said. "For who?" I asked. "For you," she replied quickly. "That is not protection," I said. "That is control." Her breathing changed. "You were a child," she snapped. "You did not need confusion." "I needed truth," I said. She turned fully toward me then. "You needed stability, and I gave it to you." "You gave me absence," I said. Something in her face cracked. "He left us," she said sharply. "He chose his life over us." "That is what you told me," I said. "But the letter says something else." She shook her head. "You believe a man who vanished over the woman who raised you." "I believe the evidence," I said. Her eyes glistened, but her jaw stayed tight. "And what does this evidence say?" she asked. "That he loved you from a distance. That he sent a few words and trinkets. That he watched from the edge because he was too weak to stay." My chest tightened. "He watched me grow without me knowing," I said. "That is not weakness. That is punishment." "For him," she said. "No," I replied. "For both of us." We stood in silence. The apples in the bowl had begun to brown. After a long moment, she spoke again. Quiet now. "There was more than one letter," she said. I lifted my head slowly. "What do you mean?" Her fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. "He wrote again," she said. "Later." "When?" I asked. "After the first," she replied. "Weeks later." My stomach dropped. "And you hid that too." "Yes," she said. "Why?" Her voice wavered for the first time. "Because that one was dangerous." "Dangerous?" "That one asked to see you," she continued. "It spoke of coming back, of explaining himself." My breath shortened. "He wanted to meet me." "Yes." "And you stopped it." "I stopped chaos," she said. "You stopped my choice," I replied, her eyes filled. "You would have left me," she whispered. The truth sat there then, in plain sight, small, afraid. "I might have visited him," I said. "That is not the same as leaving you." She closed her eyes. "I could not take the risk," she said. My hands curled into fists. "Where is the second letter?" I asked. She hesitated. "Maeve," I said. "Where is it?" She turned and opened the cabinet above the refrigerator, reached to the very back, pulled down another yellowed envelope. She did not hand it to me. She held it to her chest. "You are not ready for what it says," she whispered. I felt something deep in me harden. "You already decided what I was ready for," I said. "For 10 years. You do not get to decide anymore." Her arms shook as she extended the envelope toward me. I took it. It was heavier than the first. As I turned it over in my hands, I saw the postmark date, 2 weeks after the first letter, and my father's handwriting looked rushed. The second envelope had been sitting on the table between us this whole time. I had already seen it, already recognized the handwriting, already felt the weight of its silence. What I had not done yet was open it. Maeve watched me as if she were waiting for a verdict. "That one," she said quietly, "is the one I never wanted you to read." Her voice did not carry anger this time. It carried dread. "Then why did you keep it?" I asked. She looked down at her hands. "Because I could not destroy it," she said. "But I could not survive what would come after you read it either." I slid the envelope closer. It was thinner than the first. The paper inside felt lighter, as if the words were trying to escape. The date on the back stopped my breath for a second. 2 weeks after the first letter. I broke the seal. The opening line was not gentle. "It has been 6 months since my last attempt to come home." My chest tightened. He had been trying longer than I ever knew. He wrote about phone calls that never reached me. Letters returned without response. Messages passed through strangers that vanished before arriving. "I know she does not want me near you," the letter said, "but I am not asking for forgiveness anymore. I am asking for one conversation, just one moment where you can hear my voice for yourself." I swallowed hard. "Did he ever call?" I asked without lifting my eyes. Maeve did not answer immediately. "He tried," she said finally. "How many times?" I asked. Her silence was answer enough. I went back to the page. "I found your school's spring program online," he wrote. "I stood across the street in the rain and watched your class walk inside. You looked taller. Your hair was longer. You were laughing with someone I could not see clearly." My throat closed. I flashed back to that year. The rain. The way I had complained about my shoes getting soaked. Maeve had told me we were late because of traffic. The letter continued. "I left before the doors closed, not because I wanted to, because I was afraid I would break if you saw me." My tears fell without sound. "I am no longer asking for permission," he wrote. "I am planning to come to the house this year. I will knock on the door. I will say your name. And if she sends me away again, I will finally know I tried everything." The paper shook in my hands. "This year," I whispered. Maeve's breath hitched. "He meant that year," she said. "The year after that letter." My heart began to race. "That was 10 years ago," I said. "Yes." "Then where is he?" I asked. She did not answer. The rest of the letter was brief, hopeful, careful, unafraid. "I am not angry with her," he wrote. "I understand fear, but fear does not get to raise our child alone. If you ever read this, Arden, know that my absence was never the same thing as my leaving." I lowered the paper. The room felt hollow now, like all the air had slipped through cracks I never knew existed. "You said there was something in this letter I was not ready for," I said slowly. Maeve's face folded inward. "Yes," she said. I waited. Her lips trembled. "He never made it to the door," she whispered. My stomach dropped. "He died before he could come," she said. The words landed without sound at first, then all at once. "When?" I asked. "The week before his planned visit." I stared at her. "You knew," I said. "Yes." "You read both letters," I said. "Yes." "You knew he wanted to knock on this door," I said. "Yes." "And you still looked me in the eyes for 10 years," I said, "and said he chose not to know me." Her shoulders began to shake. "I was afraid," she whispered. Afraid. The same words she had used my entire childhood. Afraid he would hurt me. Afraid he would leave again. Afraid the truth would dismantle the story she built to survive. But this fear had cost me a father while he was still breathing. I folded the letter carefully, not because I felt gentle, because I felt steady. Now. I looked at her and asked the question that had been waiting since childhood. "Tell me the truth about how he died. All of it." Thank you for watching and staying with this part of the story. The questions are still open, and the truth has not been told yet. Part 2 begins where this moment ends, when the past is finally uncovered. If this story speaks to you, you can subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it when it drops soon.